So that's very good, and it's good for, I know in law enforcement we get together with our associations as well and meet and share ideas, and that's an important thing. Now, I'm going to watch my time because I've also learned from your meetings now that this is like the Academy Awards, and if you go over your time, the music starts playing. I'm going to try to make sure I stay on time and let Mark get up here and do that. We actually, this was good too, because as chiefs we stay pretty busy, and sometimes we usually meet once a month with the greater chiefs groups, but we don't get a lot of individual meetings. And as you know, Monterey Park and Alhambra are next door to each other, and Mark and I don't get together as much as possible, but because we're going to both do this together, it gave us an opportunity to go out to lunch to kind of plan how we're going to do it. So we want to thank you for that too. It helped bring us together a little bit and give us some time together. So they had asked us to speak about realtor safety. Now, a lot of my career I spent as a detective, as an investigator, when I was actually doing real police work, not administrative work, which is predominantly what we do now. But when I was doing that, I used to go out and do a lot of safety talks. I don't remember ever doing one for real estate groups. I've done banks, I've done stores, I've done restaurants, I've done just general safety, and a lot of things are true. So one of the things I did was I did a little research online, because there's some basic safety that you can utilize, I think, in your everyday life to keep yourself safe. And especially with realtors, you're driving around a lot, you're going place to place. You have a lot of equipment. I see a lot of iPads out, laptops, things along those lines. And things like that, I would bet if I walked out in the parking lot right now and looked around in cars, I would see a lot of things that if I was a car thief, I'd want to steal, that are just laying out on the seats of your cars. Briefcases, what looks like iPads, people who leave their phone chargers in. The real popular one are those, if you don't have it built into your car, the little Garmin GPS units. And a lot of people think they're quick because they pull the GPS unit out and put it in the glove box, but the little thing that holds it's still sticking up there, telling everyone that you have one. Those type of safety tips are just things that you can use in the general life. I carry, I have a backpack that I use all the time. When I got out of the car today, it went in my trunk, because even though all it's got is a notebook in it and some miscellaneous stuff that I have, I wanted to put away so it's out of sight, so it's not a temptation to people. So when you're out, you want to do that. There's also, what I found is there's a lot of really good information on the internet. Your industry actually does a lot to put out information for your safety. And so there are a couple of websites. There was one, realtor.org, that if you're not aware of, if you go to that website, there's plenty of safety tips, some really good stuff that I found. And also realtorsafetyfirst.com. Was another one and that one's devoted purely to realtor safety. And so it's a good thing. For most of you, if you've been in the business a lot, you're probably comfortable with the things you do. But a lot of the things that I would warn you about, and I can tell you from my experience, and I think in speaking with Mark at lunch the other day, we don't see a lot of crime against realtors in our cities. That's just not something that we see. But something for you to be aware of is just, make sure you're practicing good safety tips. If you're meeting a client for the first time, meet them at your office to begin with. Don't meet them out in the field. If you're showing a house, if you're going out to show a house, take a good look, scan the house. Don't get kind of tunnel vision about getting into that front door. One of the biggest problems, probably not only in our areas, one of the larger crime problems, but in Southern California wide, is residential burglars. And so you never want to walk in on a burglary that's happening. And frequently burglars, things like for sale signs and on yards and things like that, will kind of attract attention. And so make sure that when you're walking up, you're kind of scanning your surroundings and seeing what you see. If you see a screen off or something, you might want to back off and not rush right in to show that house to the potential buyer. And just always keep yourself safe. There was something at the beginning of the meeting that caught my attention that you said, and this is something that I keep my phone on vibrate all the time, with one exception, and it's going to sound weird, is when I'm on the baseball field. And that's because I usually don't have it on me, but because of work I need to hear if it rings. Other than that, my phone's on vibrate all the time. For you, if you're showing a house, if you have an uneasy feeling about either the client that you may have, if you have that before you go, I'd suggest the buddy system, take someone with you. If you're having an open house and somebody in the house is just making you feel a little uneasy, there's a real quick method to kind of get some space without being so obvious. And if this doesn't work if you have your phone on ring and it rings all the time. But if it's on vibrate all the time and you're showing, and then suddenly you get in an uncomfortable position, all you have to do is go, oh, excuse me, I need to take this, and walk away. You can walk out of the location and you do it. Now, it's a great trick. It works. You know, everybody's used to people getting cell phones, and for whatever reason, there's a lot of people who find that the cell phone ringing, no matter who it is more important than your and my conversation. And they'll take any. I've got people that work for me that will take any call anytime, no matter what we're doing. It's annoying, but it's a great way in any situation like that where you're a little nervous, you need to create some space. And it's kind of a socially acceptable way to create a safety zone and to get out of the way. So I'm going to wrap up what I have to say. I know Chief Yokoyama has some more things to talk about. He also brought a handout for you that he's going to get out. But again, look at your resources that you have in your industry. There, like I said, there's some great stuff out there. I read some really interesting articles when I was getting ready for this meeting. So there's a lot of information out there. But be safe and trust your instincts. I always tell people I go through life paranoid, and it's just because that kind of odd feeling you get. And I always did this in safety talks. If you don't feel something's right, don't try to justify that. Oh, I'm just crazy. Trust yourself and get away from the situation. So with that, I will turn it back over. Thank you very much.
Our second speaker is going to be Alhambra Chief Police Mark Yokoyama. Chief Yokoyama, born and raised in the city of Los Angeles. He has been in the police service profession since 1986 when he attended the police academy at Golden West College. Graduating as an honor recruit, he then worked for the La Palma Police Department over the next 12 years. In 1999, Chief Yokoyama joined the Newark Police Department in the San Francisco Bay Area as a police lieutenant and was promoted to police captain in 2002. In 2003, Yokoyama returned to Southern California, joining the Cypress Police Department as a police captain and was promoted to chief of police in 2008. After serving the city of Cypress for 8 years, he was selected to lead the Alhambra Police Department and began his duty as Alhambra Chief of Police on June 2011. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hand together and help me welcome Police Chief Yokoyama.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thanks for having both Jim and I here. You know, some of the things that both Jim and I wanted to talk about are probably things you've all heard about safety tips and things that you should do to protect yourself. And you know, I have a realtor safety checklist here that we produce at the Alhambra Police Department that we make available to realtors, and I'll leave that for you guys to take a look at later. And again, it's really probably nothing new to you. You've heard about it, you've seen it, you've read about it, and I think part of our goal today is to just make you aware once again. It's good to every so often have these things in the back of your mind and remember to do it, because we all become complacent, we all become comfortable, and periodically we just need to have these things brought up to our attention once again. You know, we both agree that it's not a problem within our communities where realtors are being targeted, but we do know that the real estate industry, realtors, real estate agents are very, very susceptible to crime. There's a perception out there that all realtors are wealthy. And I'll tell you, I hate to give the bad guys this credit, but a lot of them are very, very smart. And they do their homework. They look for their victims, they plan to victimize often, and they size people up. And the industry that realtors work within, by virtue of what you do, whether it's the way you market yourself or the situations you put yourself in, you're much more vulnerable than many other professions out there. You know, if we start with the marketing that many realtors do, like on their business cards, you've got oftentimes your profile, your image on there, websites, social media, your open house signs or for sale signs have pictures. A bad guy can easily take that information, can go onto Spokio or some type of other people finder website, get as much information about you, and know more about you than probably your family does. So it's very easy for them to gather information. As I look back on my career at the 4 or 5 different agencies that I've worked for in the past, I can remember certain crimes that I've been a part of, not as a suspect, but as an investigator. We had a situation one time where a realtor was doing an open house. A family came in, and the husband stayed downstairs with the realtor while the wife went upstairs. And the realtor was somewhat observant and noticed that the realtor came in with a larger bag than a normal woman would come in with a purse. She found it odd that the husband stayed downstairs and didn't look around the house, but just tried to stay and talk to the realtor in the kitchen. And she saw the woman come down from the stairs and go directly out. Obviously very odd. The husband said thank you and they walked out. So she put 2 and 2 together and went and confronted the woman as she was getting in the car, said, I think you took something because now the bag was heavy. And she tried to stop the person. She grabbed onto the window and the car took off and she dragged the realtor down the street. And sure enough, it was a burglary that occurred. The bad guys went in there with the intent to take something from the home. I remember another time where a realtor was showing a commercial property to a client, and when they walked in, the business was being burglarized as they walked in to show the property. I remember an attempted rape of a realtor at another location that one of the cities I worked for. In Alhambra, we had a recent case last year, I think, where an alert, astute realtor noticed that a person was following her. She was closing her open house, and not following her, but had noticed that the car had slowed down several times. We contacted the person, and he had a history of, he wasn't on, didn't have any arrest warrants out, didn't commit a crime, but when we stopped and talked with him, he had a history of sexual predator type behavior. So something that, she was very alert. So that's what we really are hoping, that, you stay alert with what you're doing. As police officers, it's ingrained in us to be alert. Even when we're not working, we're constantly sizing people up, we're sizing situations up. Very rarely do you ever see a police officer handle a call by himself. And even if he does, you'll usually see a police officer roll by at least, just to see how he or she's doing, or just to be readily available real soon. Car stops, you'll see 2 police officers usually. And it's not because anything specifically dangerous to you, they're just being safe. And I think that's the message we want to portray to you, is to do everything that you can possibly do to be safe. When we go to a call for service, we don't just walk right in. You'll notice that police officers usually park 4 or 5 houses down from where they're trying to get to, and they walk up to the scene because they want to be safe. They want the element of surprise. I know that both Jim and I, when we go out to lunch with ourselves or with our family, we know all the time there's a specific place we want to sit. And we want, to be facing the door. So if this were a restaurant and I was with my family I wouldn't be sitting facing this way. I'd be facing this way because I'm watching the door, because I just want to be the one who's ready to do something if some bad guy comes in the door. Whether I'm in uniform, off duty, or not, that's just the mindset we do. As I'm driving home, we're conditioned to look in our rearview mirrors always because we don't know who's following us. That's what I think realtors need to do, is to get conditioned and to have a similar suspicious type of mind. You know, there's no reason why realtors shouldn't have backup. You know, police officers, we always have backup. I know it's a challenge for the industry. You know, brokers perhaps should create a policy of some sort that, you know, if there's an open house, that your realtors file flight plans. And what I mean by that, you know, pilots file flight plans with the FAA of where they're going, what time they're going to arrive, and when they depart. You know, I don't know. It's just a thought that maybe you know, brokers should mandate for their realtors, that they file these flight plans. If you've got this place you're showing to, you clear it when you leave. We do the same thing. You know, officers gather intelligence. You should do the exact same thing for the people that you're going to be showing properties to. I know it's an industry where you need to get a client, but it shouldn't be at the expense of your safety. There's no reason why you shouldn't ask for an ID, inspect that ID, make a photocopy of it. And I know it's hard to ask a client of that. You know, maybe you fall back on, hey, it's office policy that we do that. You know, it's just something that I'd encourage you to do. It sometimes will make the bad guys you know, think twice. What else? The only other thing I would encourage all of you to do is to make sure that you have people that you can lean on, you know, people that you can talk to, so that you're sharing information. And this is the perfect environment, perfect setting to do that you should constantly be talking about this type of problems that are occurring. If you don't mind for just 1 second, I'll get off the topic of realtor safety and tell you a little bit about crime. Crime in general, I think, is starting to go up. Chief Smith talked a little bit about residential burglaries. You know, some of the things that we've also seen, not necessarily in Alhambra, but in our meetings with other chiefs around the county in Southern California, a lot of these vacant homes are being used for squatters. They're being used for meth labs. They're being used for marijuana grows. So you can find yourself easily walking into a situation like that. So be careful, gather your intelligence ahead, make sure you know what you're walking into. And so, you know, that being said, crime is going up a little bit throughout the Southern California area. One of the bigger crimes that we're trying to tackle right now in Alhambra is, and this affects realtors probably too, when your clients' homes are getting fumigated for, what do you call it? Termites. We've had 7 residential burglaries of fumigated homes while the tents are on within the last several months. So something to be aware of. It's happening not just in Alhambra, but all over Southern California. That shows you what lengths bad guys will go to get what they want. The last thing is this: is that they've got some great technology out there. If you